Welcome to the Academy of Esports podcast. I'm your host, James O'Hagan. I have the absolute pleasure to bring onto the podcast this week Samantha Anton. She is the COO of the North America Scholastic Esports Federation. Sam, thank you so much for being here on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I'm really excited. You and I always have great conversations, so I'm really excited to actually sit down on the podcast for an episode.
Well, this is as much about you as about what is going on with NASEF right now. What is the state of things? Because you are, again, one of those female trailblazers in a space that stereotypically does not go to look towards females. So I guess, being 25, being a COO of a national organization like you are, what even brought you into this area, this field? I mean, were you a gamer growing up? What got you here?
To be honest, my relationship with gaming has been very one-to-one. I think it's been so refreshing to see just the community that's built around gaming, because when I remember my senior year of high school, first year of college, I would go home and play Minecraft by myself, and I never talked to my friends about it. I would watch Justin TV. Lo and behold, after I kind of stopped gaming and just focused on school and everything, and kind of came back to it with the role, Twitch is Justin TV, and right. I completely missed that chapter of that shift. So I've always been interested in games, but I wouldn't say it was something that I thought I would have a career in, or even esports was something for me. And so I went to UC Irvine for undergrad. I graduated with a bachelor's in film media studies and political science. Mm-hmm. And during my time there, all of my jobs, because I was having 2 to 3 jobs at a given time to put myself through school, were always around event management, production, and marketing. And I built really great relationships with my supervisors and got a lot of mentorship in my jobs and the roles that I filled. So after I graduated, I started working for UCI undergraduate admissions, and I was an event coordinator that managed events across the state of California and even had a role in our events across the world, just for recruitment and the application process. So I was there for a couple of years, and I wanted something that gave me more responsibility, something refreshing. So I was ready to jump out of higher education and into some sort of company, or just get out of UCI in some way. So I reached out to my mentor throughout college, Mark Deppy, who is the director of the UCI Esports program, to see if he would be my reference for some positions that I was applying for. And it just worked out that at the same time, the Semele Foundation were pursuing an interest in seeing how esports and education can come together, and if there was something there to really impact the learning that was happening in Orange County. So we launched the Orange County High School Esports League, and I was brought on to be the lead project coordinator. Mm-hmm. I did everything from running the tournament, managing communications with the general managers, marketing, really just threw myself into this new, at this time I wouldn't even call it an organization, but this new project to explore and learn. And Dr. Constance Steinkuhler was brought on to do the research on the work that we were doing. We brought in Connected Camps to run the coaching, so that we had free coaching for all the teams. And it was so exciting because, one, this is the first time I was able to just focus on one specific thing. I wasn't managing, multiple different events. I wasn't fulfilling different roles. Like in admissions, I also read applications and scored them when that time came around. Mm-hmm. So it was refreshing for me. And then from there, it was conversations of, do we expand to California? Do we expand to the West Coast? And then we ended up expanding North America wide at the end of that year. But even just our event on April 27th, which is kind of the event that I always think back on when I think about how much we've grown, I was blown away. That was the League of Legends finals for the Orange County High School Esports League. Mm-hmm. And we had schools bringing in buses of students. We had parents. And so you really felt the support of these 4 teams. And, at the time we only had 38 teams, 25 schools. So I really built a relationship with a lot of these schools. These general managers I still talk to today. Excuse me.
That's okay.
And so it's been really great to see how much we've expanded. I get a little sad sometimes because we are so big that I can't build those same relationships that I did in the way that we did when it was just Orange County. But now my role's kind of shifted to overseeing everything that we're doing across all the different subcommittees and subcategories we have. Our curriculum team, led by Orange County Department of Education, is instrumental to the work that we do. And so I mostly just lend support to them. What tools, resources do they need so that they can keep doing the awesome work that they are. So that's my role's shifted. Just looking kind of on a more higher level perspective on everything that we're doing. But then my role is specifically catered to the clubs as well. So I am one of the lead people working on the webinars, the club development resources, the GM network calls. I help support all of those.
Yeah. And if anybody's listening to the podcast, or if you're even watching it, Sam is openly mocking me because she is in, of course, Irvine, and I am in a basement in Wisconsin, and it is a beautiful 70 something degrees, I'm guessing. But of course, she's wearing a full sweater because it's slightly chilly, while it's still some inches of snow on the ground here. And yeah, so if you hear a lot of noise, if you're listening to it, it's just because, again, she's just sitting in an open air area where it's beautiful and gorgeous, and I encourage that. So it's, I think what you said, it's adding perfect ambience to the podcast as we're going through this. Now, you said your role has shifted, and I know that the association has started to grow a little bit. In fact, there's a program right now, I believe, of mentorship where you are working with teachers from across the United States, not just high school teachers, but also elementary and middle school teachers, trying to help them kind of figure out what does esports mean to them and how are they working that with their students. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what that program is looking like right now?
Yeah. So we have a Scholastic Esports Fellow program of 25 educators across the U.S. right now. I don't believe we have any from Canada or Mexico at the moment, but they are taking our current curriculums and bringing them into their schools and kind of adjusting them, kind of exploring how this can fit to their specific populations, which is why it was so important for us to pick a diverse group of educators. There are some that are, traditional in school. There are some that are out of school time, more aligned with community-based organizations. We have Florida reflected. We have California. All different types of students as well, not just, and that was one of the best things for us expanding was, we were in this Orange County bubble. And I will say, I think it was kind of easier for us to bring in esports because you have a top tier university down the street who is not only validating the support of Scholastic Esports, but also invested in it. The faculty at UCI, even the UCI Esports program staff, everyone has a commitment to not just bringing esports in and saying, okay, we're done. We got our job done. It's okay. We're using it, but how do we constantly adjust and revisit what we're doing with Scholastic Esports? So with Orange County Department of Education bringing on Jarrell Batak, who is leading the Scholastic Esports Fellow program, now we can, really deeply work with these educators across the U.S. On this curriculum and take their feedback and actually implement it in what we're doing moving forward. So this is the first time that we have this fellow program, and I'm really excited to see where it ends up.
And I will give a plug for one of the people who I follow who's in the mentor program. That's Jody Mahoney, who works on the south side of Chicago. I did a webinar for her students. I think it was last year. And it was so exciting to see recently that Jody has been posting some of the pictures and some of the product that her kids are doing in the class. And I think it's just such a powerful thing, especially to have, again, that middle school, elementary school component built into us. Because again, coming back from the TCEA conference, high school right now seems almost like a very easy thing to do because there's a ton of resources out there, but people are still really struggling with, how do we do this at the elementary school level? How do we do this at the middle school level? That seems to be one of those big questions that's still kind of sitting out there because, there's not a lot of competitive organization. The game titles are very different than the high school collegiate ranks. Are you seeing those kind of issues as well through NASEF? Getting those same kind of questions?
Yeah, I don't see issues. Do you want to repeat the question for me? I think it's out for a second.
So again, looking at how there's people who are really pressing in, like, how do we bring this into elementary? How do we bring this into the middle school level, are you starting to see a lot of questions pop up from people who are trying to connect with NASEF and trying to develop elementary and middle school programs?
Yes, definitely elementary and middle school. We receive a ton of inquiries, everything from curriculum to competing to coaching. And we as an organization are not ready to explore the elementary school space. Or not that we're not ready to explore it, but we're not ready to put anything out for the elementary school space. But the middle school space, we do think is really critical because this is an age where you can really impact and shift the way students are learning. There's still time versus working with the high school populations. There is some unlearning to be done, specifically on the topics of toxicity and cyber hygiene. You know, they build these. Some students may build poor habits with gaming, and so if we bring it to the middle school level, not only is that, you know, giving them the opportunity to not have to unlearn something, but also we are confident that this is where we'll see more inclusiveness with gender diversity. Middle school is an age where girls haven't necessarily self-selected into certain categories, where, you know, the middle school students can bring in all their friends to come play Smash, and there isn't a barrier of, oh, you're a girl, why are you here?
Yeah.
Or not to say that there isn't that barrier, but we have good reason to see that it's less likely.
Well, there is a barrier. It's not that the kids aren't playing the games. A couple weeks ago, I did a day where I met with 7th and 8th grade students at it's called GEMS. It's Girls in Engineering, Math, and Science. It was a conference for them, and we made esports one of the sessions. And I, with one of our female GMs, we went into the room to talk to them about what esports is. We even ran a very small Smash Brothers tournament. But what was exciting for me to hear was that from the girls who were in the room, and I asked the question, what video games are you playing? Do you know what game it was that they most said they were playing? It was totally surprising to me.
Girls?
What's that?
Let's see. What age are these girls?
7th and 8th grade.
7th and 8th grade. It's not Fortnite, is it?
No. And it's not Minecraft.
I don't know if I can guess.
Call of Duty.
Oh, okay.
And
the thing is, that makes sense because Call of Duty is a game that's been around for kind of years and years. So when you think about who gets students into games, you know, it's usually a parent or a sibling or a cousin or, you know, a friend from school. And so, yeah, I'm not completely surprised by that, but that's not a game title I would bring up.
Well, yes.
When guessing, so that's really interesting.
Well, luckily too, the second most popular game was NBA 2K. So we in the Racine Unified School District next year are going to be piloting a 2K league for our Wisconsin High School Esports Association. And we've come up with, I think we've got the Milwaukee Bucks up the road, which has made it really great for us to kind of do that. But we're really going to, again, try to bring it in so that we are making sure that we note that there are girls out there who really want to play this game, who have been playing this game. And we really, it's a matter of recruiting. It's a matter of going and finding them and saying, don't you want to be part of this? And, you know, especially, you know, you talked about middle school. Sometimes middle school, you have to almost drag them in a lot of times too, because the recruiting is so important at that level that we've seen at least.
Right.
And it's great too, Sam. I've told other people this as well. You are probably one of the few non-educators in this space who I actually trust. So when we're talking about that, when I'm doing this podcast with Sam, it's not just that she's this amazing person who's organizing this league from behind the scenes, but I think that you really have in a lot of ways the best interests of kids at heart. I really feel that you've been a great fit for this organization and a great person to talk about all the things that are going on with this. And because especially there's a lot of people who don't understand the education world. The education world is very different than private sector. So I guess what I would like to ask is, how have you been part of trying to message things out to school districts? How does messaging work when you want to promote an idea or a concept? Say, for example, the winter extra credit that NASEF is doing right now. How does that get messaged out to the school districts?
Yeah. So I think about this a lot because we're constantly communicating with our general managers and our site admins and just updating them on what's going on. And I think what's really critical is having open conversations with the community on when really big decisions are being made. Our extra credit series we've been doing now for, at the end of this year, it'll be 2 full years that we have hosted them. And these were our way of validating the games that students are playing, but still, acknowledging and having open conversations about, there's a reason why we're not necessarily bringing some of these games into the school or requiring students to play from school. And one of those games is Fortnite. And in terms of our communications, we, especially with the more shooter style games, and I say shooter style because I do think that when we, call things first person shooter or third person shooter, there is a connotation with it. And it makes it difficult to have open conversations about what that game content actually is. So an example of Overwatch, when we first launched it last year as a season-long tournament, and then brought it again this year, we put out blog posts that explain our stance on how we selected our games and why specifically we chose Overwatch. I think, games give us opportunities, but there are so many games out there that if there are problems with a specific game, you don't necessarily have to use it, or, you can still offer a variety of games so that you're not just kind of using the same games that everyone kind of uses.
And I think that's important to highlight just for a second is that just with NASEF and just like pretty much with anything else that we do with esports in our schools, a lot of people may think that, oh, NASEF has this game, we have to play it, we have to have a team. There's other organizations out there that will, just put out announcements about certain games without really thinking of what impact that has at school. But I know that NASEF, you do things a little differently about the messaging around the games, right?
Yeah. And we also provide resources too to explain the games to the teachers, because as an organization as large as ours, now we have, I think, over 500 clubs across Canada and the US. And when you have so many clubs, you do have to have a due diligence with the schools and build that relationship with them. But oh my gosh, I totally lost my train of thought there.
Well, one of the things I was trying to get at was none of the games are required.
Right. Oh yeah. So none of the games are required. And that is something that we constantly are still, there have been clubs with us for 2 years and they still, don't necessarily know that, just because we bring in a game, you don't have to submit teams for that. So, it's about kind of giving that flexibility of the school to decide what they can bring into their school and have that autonomy. But then also, the reality is Fortnite is super popular and the students are, still playing it. And so it is still a tool for us to be able to get the students where they are and do some impactful work with the students directly. So that's why we do give that option of, you don't have to play in these games, you play from home. And we also try to add like as low of a barrier for the students.
Just be clear on that. When you say play from home, you're talking about the winter extra credit
Winter extra credit, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, for our season-long tournaments, we do require that they play from campus, but we do have a waiver option. So we have some schools where they know that they're going to be closed for spring break and they still want to play their game, so we'll get a waiver from them to say, oh, can we play from home for this specific game?
Okay.
And then we have other groups, especially like community-based organizations and even high schools too, where for certain games, they can't play them on campus. Some schools will not download Overwatch onto their computers, and that is 100% okay. But these students still want to compete. The school's still willing to let their students compete. They just don't want to do it from the school campus. So that's when you see schools building relationships with their local Microsoft stores. You see them going to the local LAN centers. And so we just want to have open communication to say you have a safe space for students to play from. It is public. That is something that we do, when the students are playing together. We don't want them to go to someone's, garage and play from there. If you can take it to a public safe space where the parents know where they are, the general manager can supervise them. So we do give that flexibility for the season-long tournaments through a waiver option, but for extra credit, we do allow them to play.
Oh, go back for a second for that. Hold on,
Ultimate tournament.
You froze for a second. Go back. So you were saying for that winter extra credit, because you had the waiver.
So for the winter extra.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the winter extra credit tournaments, we do allow them to play from home. We usually host them on a Saturday. And so the students are able to wake up, log on to whatever device they're playing from, This also allows us to be more inclusive of different equipment that students will play from. You know, now we can still have students play from console, or we can still have students play from, you know, their Nintendo Switches. And so it gives for even more flexibility, but we're still giving them an organized tournament that has the standards of our code of conduct, that we still ask the students to fulfill everything that they fulfill with the season-long tournaments, with the sign-up process as well. So it still gives them a valid experience without having to give, 40 game titles of 8-week competitions.
Now let's go back almost to the beginning of the interview, because we've taken this pathway of, here we are, we've gone through mentorship, we've gone through the winter extra credit, back to when you started with NASEF and the Orange County education division's attempts to have an esports league. As you were starting to get into this, what were some of the surprises you maybe encountered along the way? Some of these big realizations maybe you came across where it was like something that was very eye-opening to you about gaming and gaming culture. Because again, when you talked about your experience with gaming culture, it was you were playing Minecraft at home. You weren't really playing in shared realms or anything like that. You weren't talking to anybody about it. So has there been anything to you that's been like a story or a moment where you were just like, oh my gosh, this is why I love doing this. This is the coolest thing I'm doing, or something along those lines?
With Orange County, going back that far, what were some of the lessons I learned?
It doesn't have to be going all that far back.
Oh, okay. I think, well, one of the stories that sticks out to me was at our NHL finals last year. So we did a regional tournament with the Anaheim Ducks using NHL 19 at the time. And we also did our Beyond the Game challenges. And our Beyond the Game challenges they've turned into scholarship opportunities. When we first launched them, we were just creating activities, but now we've wanted to validate the student work. So we've kind of expanded it into a sense of scholarships that we give. And we did a specific set for the NHL tournament, and this was open to all NASEF students, not just those here in Orange County. But they were challenges on creating a logo for the Anaheim Ducks tournament, creating a video to highlight what your team was doing, interviewing an industry professional specifically as well. And so on the finals event, we actually were able to bring out two of the winners were from Orange County. And so we were able to bring them out and even highlight them on stage.
That is not a dragon that Sam is looking up into the sky at. She is in the flight path of John Wayne Airport. So there's been a couple of planes as we were warming up. This is the first one. I thought we were going to have like a constant flow of airplane traffic, but this is not bad. So
yeah, John Wayne's not that busy today. That was my flight, actually. I just missed it. But yeah, so we brought out a couple of the students that did end up earning the scholarship for the NHL Beyond the Game challenges. And one of the students in particular, I was able to have a conversation with his parent, and she was able to let me in a little bit more about this student and why he participated in the challenge. And he was really passionate about Overwatch, and his school has been with us since the beginning as well. So, and they've been really committed to creating this kind of smaller community within their campus of gamers. And he was really passionate about it, but he wasn't able to make the team, and it really, I don't want to say upset him, but he was down about it. And so he kind of made it his mission to be like, you know what, I still love this club. I still want to do whatever I can with it. So I'm going to try and be club president this year.
So wait, as the crop duster goes overhead, it isn't just, so he's non-participant as a gamer, but yet still wants to have that role in leadership and help lead the club.
Right. And that was his goal for that year was, I wasn't able to make it onto the Overwatch team, but I still want to be involved. And so he just started picking up things for the club and started, trying to do more with them. And so one of them was creating the video on his Overwatch team. And this student is a different learner. They have a learning disability, and this really helped them kind of feel more in touch with their campus. But what made it most special was that it was the mom that was telling me. that this had an impact on her student. So I think anytime I can get directly in touch with parents and family members specifically, because everyone has different types of guardians, and I've spoken with older sisters, I've spoken with cousins, and everyone that I have been able to speak with has been really excited for what it was doing for their student.
Mm-hmm. And I think as those of us who are listening to the podcast, or those who are just starting to step into esports, those of us who've been in it for a while, or those of us who are just stepping into it, you probably have a similar story that you're saying in your mind of, yes, as soon as I talked to this parent about this child, everything started to click. A lot of things started to make sense, or this became something that was so meaningful for this student in the classroom and in their school culture. So it's great that.
And I will.
Well, go ahead.
I want to add, we often use stories about students who were struggling in some sort of way, and esports really shifted it. But we also see it with the higher achievers as well. We have students that were performing really well in track, right? But they weren't emotionally connected to it. And so when an esports team was brought to their campus, that's what they actually wanted to participate in. And, maybe it wasn't the pressure from their family or the pressure from expectations. Now they're actually kind of taking ownership of what they're interested in, but still participating in something that is just as valid as being on the track team.
I agree with you. In Racine, we have a student as well who she was a softball player for her sophomore year, and decided her senior year that esports was going to be her thing. And she got a scholarship in trumpet playing. But it's not so much that the trumpet, it's not that the issue of we don't have obviously we have a problem with her going to a college on a trumpet scholarship, but that esports for her is what she needed to feel connected to her school while she was still doing her music and still participating in those things. As you're talking about the high flyers, it is still for some kids just finding that thing that makes going to school worthwhile every day. So yeah, we have those kind of stories all over the place, hopefully.
And I think back to my own high school experience a lot. I was really involved on campus, and
where did you go to high school?
Art school. I went to the San Diego School of Creative and Performing Arts, which is a magnet school in San Diego, similar to OSHA, but a lot younger. And, if there was anything that I learned so much, and I actually was involved in the school board then. So it's very interesting in my role now to see kind of, going to school board meetings or meeting with principals is very similar to what I was doing in high school. But the one thing that our teachers always reminded us was, you can use your art and skills to get into any school that you want. It doesn't mean that you need to be a dancer as your career. It doesn't mean that you need to be, a director or a producer. It means you're using it as a tool to get you into places that you need to be. But if she wants to use her trumpet scholarship to go to a school, but then build an esports community, or even not build an esports community, right? Just do anything. Whatever got her there is what got her there. And it's about keeping, to stay growing and keep moving forward and stay hungry.
Yeah.
And, you can, if your star player at your high school playing Overwatch can, play it in college, or they cannot play that game ever again and not look back. And that's totally okay. It's about using these as tools in the moment now, which is why, the relationship with the teachers are so incredibly important, because they're the ones that see it. They're the ones that feel it. And I think about, even just the term teacher, right? It's very much like I'm giving this to someone, but they're really learning engineers, they're really shaping the way students are thinking. It's not just teaching you X, Y, Z. This is how you navigate life. And so lots of thoughts come with just a trumpet scholarship.
But it's funny you say that too about teachers, because in esports, there is a tremendous amount of intimidation for teachers. I like that NASEF, and we have adopted the same terminology in the Racine Unified School District. We don't refer to our teachers who are involved with our students in esports as coaches. We refer to them as general managers. I feel that for some teachers, when you say the word coach, that means to them, they have to be experts of whatever the game is. They have to be able to lead the practice, whatever it may look like. Whereas general manager really allows the teacher to find the role of what they're really good at, motivating and engaging kids and making sure that the environment is what it needs to be. And if they know the game, that's great. I'm not saying that they don't have to know the game, but Um, there's been some who have stepped into it this year in our own school district who are just, they want to advocate for kids. They see that they see the goodness, and they're going to help to create an environment that's safe for kids to want to come be part of this, to be part of it. So for some people who may be thinking about, well, gosh, I don't know these games at all. Sometimes the stronger thing to be at that moment is the advocate, to be the organizer, to be the voice for the kids when they really need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as we're starting to wrap up here, I think I'll cut that one out. That was
yeah. This one you can put up.
All right.
They're backing out. This might take a while. I see them right now.
Okay, hold on. Sounds like they're gone.
Thank you for your patience with it.
Why would I not be patient about this? I'm taking your time.
The next time we do a podcast, I'm going to be in a soundproofed room. Well, do not disturb on everything.
As we start to wrap up the conversation here, one thing that I do want to ask about specifically is I was a part of the fall conference that there was at UC Irvine last October. Is that going to be, do you know if that's going to happen again this coming fall?
That's a great question. And I had a really great conversation yesterday about our plans for the UCI Esports Conference and how NASEF will be involved. And so I can say that we are pursuing something special specifically for NASEF members, community members. We're still developing what these plans are going to look like, but in the next next 2 months, keep on the lookout. Jim, I'll probably.
You'll probably what? Oh, you froze really badly. Hold on a sec. Let's wait for you to catch up. All right, so go ahead. Say again.
So we will be doing something with the UCI Esports Conference specifically for NASEF members. What that looks like, we will announce in the coming months, but I'm definitely very excited for where this is headed.
Oh, I like that. I was really worried for a second there that it was like, no, we don't know if we're going to do it or not, because everybody I've talked to when I came back from it, I said, this is something that you need to attend. This is something you need to go see and experience. And again, make that networking connection with the people, not just other not just other esports coaches, but also the researchers, the people who are doing the research in the field. It's important to hear all those things.
Yeah, exactly. And Mark Deppie and Dr. Constantine Cooler are the chairs for the UCI Esports Conference. So we're able to work directly with them to kind of make sure that whatever we add for NASEF is relevant to NASEF general managers, site administrators, or even just people who are looking to break into this space, but they want to do their due diligence as they should. Having a set time where people can come out to be able to do that is what we're hoping to provide. So
perfect. Well, Samantha Anton, or Sam, as I call you, Sam, thank you so much for being on the Academy of Esports podcast. I really loved having you on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
That will do it for this week on the Academy of Esports. I've been your host, James O'Hagan. Esports are organized competitive video games allowing schools to redefine their athletic culture, diversify opportunities for student participation, promote good physical and mental health, increase collegiate scholarship pathways, and play games. We can never forget the importance of play. The mission of the Academy of Esports is to support these ideals. The vision of the Academy of Esports is for all students to experience the fun and joy of playing competitive video games. You may follow me on Twitter at Jim O'Hagan. That's at JIMOHAGAN, and through the Academy of Esports account at TAO Esports. It's a great way to get the latest blog posts, podcast episodes, and news coming out of esports and education. And remember, you can continue your engagement by going to www.taoesports.com. You can also connect through Facebook at www.facebook.com/TAO Esports. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to our time again next week.